Hello, my friends. Welcome to another episode on Consulting Interview Prep with me, Nilay Bhatnagar. In this episode, we'll learn how to apply the approaches for market entry and product launch that we covered in the previous video to a real McKinsey case. This case is called Electrolyte. It's available on the McKinsey website, and it's an interesting case. So the way you should do this is I'll read out the prompt. Then you should think through a few clarifying questions. Then pause the video, take a couple of minutes, time yourself, and then join me back as I discuss the solution. So with that said, let's dive into Electrolyte. So your client today is Super Soda. It's a top 3 beverage producer in the United States. And they have approached McKinsey to help them design their product launch strategy. Now, our client is an integrated beverage company, which means that they own their brand design, marketing, sales, supply chain, bottling and packaging, and distribution to retailers. They have a number of brands across carbonated and non-carbonated drinks. They have 5 major bottling facilities across the US and distribution agreements with most of the major retailers. They are considering launching a new product, a flavored sports drink called Electrolyte. Sports drinks are usually designed to replenish energy with sugars and electrolytes or salts in the body. However, Electrolyte has been formulated to focus more on the replenishment of electrolytes and has a lower sugar content compared to all other brands on the market. The company expects to take advantage on the recent trend away from high sugar products. So we have been approached by the Vice President of Marketing, and they want us to analyze the factors surrounding the launch of Electrolyte and their own internal capabilities to support that effort. So how will you help Super Soda launch Electrolyte? Take a couple of minutes, think through a couple of clarifying questions, and then we'll discuss some. Now, as you can see, I only have a couple of clarifying questions here. With McKinsey, this would typically be the case. Their prompts tend to be pretty long, and they give you a lot of information initially. So generally, it's not required for you to ask many questions. Whereas with BCG or Bain, the prompts tend to be shorter, and so it might be necessary for you to ask a few more questions to better understand the client situation, the problem, the client business model. Coming back to our Electrolyte case, the 2 questions I still think would be helpful for us to have answers to would be, is Electrolyte a first of its kind drink, right? Are there other drinks with low sugar content on the market, or will we have the first mover advantage, right? And if we are not the first drink, I would love to understand how has been the response from the market to other drinks which had the same value proposition as Electrolyte. Okay. And secondly, I would love to know if there are any specific financial objectives or measures of success, right? This could be payback period, return on investment associated with the launch of Electrolyte. Right. Now let's assume that we are not the first of its kind drink, but we are probably the second or third drink on the market, or we'll be the second or third drink on the market, and the client has not given us any specific targets. Now would be a good time for you to pause this video, take a couple of minutes, create your own structure, and then join me as I discuss the solution. Alright, so hopefully you have something similar, even if not exactly the same. So there are going to be 4 buckets as we discussed in the previous video. How attractive is the sports drink market in which we are going to launch this new drink called Electrolyte? How attractive would be the economics of this launch? Or will it meet our financial objectives, right? Will it be a profitable launch? What should be the go-to-market strategy? Or what capabilities would be needed to have a successful launch? And finally, what should be the key risks that we should be mindful of? So diving into the first bucket, here I'm super interested in first looking at a high level, the overall market growth rate and size for sports drinks. I'm also interested in looking at the key market segments within sports drinks. This could be low sugar content, flavored sports drinks, etc. Right? Ideally, we would want to see a fast growing market for low sugar content sports drinks. Right? I'm also interested in learning about the competitive landscape. Is it a fragmented market or a concentrated market? I would assume, given what you've told me, it will not be a consolidated market because not a lot of players are here right now. So it's still a growing space, right? So it still might be fragmented right now. And actually, people don't have a lot of options currently, right? So see how I added a little more context, right? So quick call out, I added a little more context by just contextualizing what I was saying for the client. And this makes your framework very, very relevant and interesting for the interviewer to listen to, instead of just kind of saying generically, I want to look at the market size, the growth rate, the market segments. I will want to look at the competitive landscape, the market shares, etc. Right? So don't do that. Just boring. All right. All right. Moving on to the next bucket. How attractive is the economics of the launch? So I'm not talking about modes of entry here because this is an integrated company and I'm assuming that we will be responsible for the launch, but might be a question that you could have asked earlier. All right. So here I'm going to try to estimate what would be the future revenues associated with this electrolyte drink, and I'm going to see what would be the costs associated with this launch, and that will give me an idea of how profitable this launch might be and what would be the payback period. Right? So on the revenue side, I would love to understand how would we price this and who would we target and whether we have a good product market fit with the customers that we're targeting. Right? So maybe we're targeting athletes and people with an active lifestyle, and what exactly are they looking for in their drinks. If we have a good market fit, then we can expect to capture a larger share. Right? So this hopefully should help me figure out the revenue side of things. And on the cost side, I would want to look at some upfront costs that we'll have to invest. This could be in the form of setting up new operations for manufacturing this new drink. It could be the sales and marketing campaign that we conduct to launch this drink, right, etc. And the ongoing cost would be the costs of manufacturing this drink, including the raw materials like the water, the chemicals that go into electrolyte, right? It would be. So if I do these calculations, it will give us an idea of how profitable would this launch be. Moving on to my third bucket, where we're talking about the capabilities that would be critical to make this launch successful. So the first thing would be product packaging and design, right? So we're going to launch a new product. It needs to be attractive. It needs to appeal to the customers. Secondly, we'll have to think about the supply chain setup, right? How are we going to procure materials for this electrolyte drink from our suppliers, right? Will existing suppliers work, or will we have to find new suppliers? Would existing production facility work, or will we have to expand? Are same retailers going to sell our drinks, or we'll have to start new partnerships? All right, we'll have to definitely think very carefully about the sales and marketing strategy, right? For any product launch, this is going to be critical. Right? You have to create an awareness, a buzz. You have to partner with the right kind of opinion leaders or influencers, right? You have to use social media, print media, mix of different channels to reach your customers. And finally, you also need to have leadership commitment and workforce mobilization to make all of this happen smoothly. And finally, wrapping up our approach with a few key risks that we should be mindful of. This could be market related, so maybe a competitor might respond in ways that we have not anticipated. They could cut their price, they could make some exclusive arrangements with suppliers or retailers, right? Definitely there will be some opportunity costs, so we have to consider what are we not doing if we are investing and whether it's worth it or not. So that's hopefully this wraps up our approach for electrolyte launch. So hope you found this video useful. Please leave your comments and I'll see you in the next one. Till then, take care and goodbye.